Welcome back to Libraries Today, a 2-hour on-site visit to the West Virginia Library Association's annual Spring Fling Conference. Here to talk to us about educational planning for students, kindergarten through college, also known as K through 20, are Ashley Corin and Chanel Pickens from West Virginia University. Ladies, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks for inviting us.
Okay, first off, explain to me what K through 20 means.
Well, K through 20 is really an educational continuum where you look at the individual's entire learning experience, starting with kindergarten all the way through potentially grad school. And that also can include continuing education for older adults too.
Okay, so today you were talking about that in a room full of librarians.
Yeah.
So tell me about the presentation that you had today and kind of what your focus was.
So today, our focus was on creating roadmaps, educational roadmaps. So documenting from K to 20 how the library plays a role in the academic success of certain individuals based on the scenarios that we created for this presentation. So,
Well, how can libraries affect education? It's, obviously you have libraries in schools and the libraries, public libraries across the state. What kind of role can the library play?
Well, there's really nothing we can't do as library professionals, and that's really what we wanted to emphasize, is that even as you find more schools having less librarians in the actual schools, public libraries can pick up the slack with that. And then also the different resources that academic libraries can create as far as continuing education for librarians in other areas. So we really just wanted to emphasize the fact that libraries can be involved in every single part of a person's educational career.
and also that librarians and libraries can work together. So if one library is lacking in one particular area, it's important to sort of reach out to other libraries and librarians to sort of fill that gap. So.
In West Virginia, that's particularly important because we have a lot of small libraries in rural communities. Give me some examples how those small libraries can help out.
Well, I think part of it is just starting the conversation. So that's really what we wanted to do today, was to bring people together, like-minded individuals that want to be able to collaborate and say, okay, here are some people that you can actually work with. Really the best way is just figuring out how we can articulate our value, how we can tell different stakeholders, whether they are, politicians, the local lady that's dropping her kids off at the library, whoever it is, just the value that we bring to these communities. And that's really just the most foundational way I think that we can be involved.
Obviously, parents have a very large impact in the education process. And you're talking about developing plans. How can parents and students together come up with an educational plan to help them through the process?
Wow, that's kind of a tough question because it depends on so many things, right? Their finances, their community, where they want to be in state, out of state, the kind of school they want to go to. But I think creating an educational plan can sort of help you figure out, okay, so if these are my resources, this is what I have access to, and this is what you want to do, with your life. Here are the things in my community that can help you figure that out or help you get to a place, and then maybe we can think of resources outside of our community that will help you sort of continue on to where you need to be, regardless of what career you choose.
Yeah. You were discussing scenarios and different scenarios that where folks can be impacted by educational libraries and that kind of thing. Why don't you give me some examples of the scenarios you were talking with librarians about today?
I think the one that got everybody really kind of charged up was we had a young man from Morgantown. His parents were both college educated. They expected him to go to college, and he just wanted to quit high school and move to California to start a band, which probably isn't that unrealistic, right? His educational needs and the things that libraries could provide for him from school all the way up to academic, because we will convince him to go to college, will be very different from, say, a mother who has 3 children and is going back to pursue her PhD because, life gets in the way and maybe she couldn't do that all the way through as planned. So those are some of the scenarios we tried to present, and then we also wanted to bring in just diversity too. So there are people that have learning disabilities, and there's different resources that libraries can provide to support those individuals. And we see an increasing number of people that English isn't their first language. So that's an area that we really want people to be able to start thinking about too, and how libraries can be a part of their lives.
And some libraries in the state are already thinking about these things, but it's better that everybody talk about it at the same time with as many people there as possible.
Yeah.
Both of you are new to the state. In your time here so far, what would you say would be the biggest issue that you run into as we're discussing these kinds of things?
I don't know. I want to be employed. I don't know if I can say I can say anything, Stan.
I think this is I lived in Tennessee for a while, but I've never lived anywhere where it's rural. And you see so many rural populations here, and I think it was mentioned in several of our groups today, transportation is a huge issue. So you might have these people in these wonderful communities doing these great things at their libraries, but when do I ever get to meet up with that person in Charleston or in Beckley or in Morgantown to make this actually happen? So I think that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that I've seen so far.
I think also access to the internet. I know that's a really big thing. Certain communities don't have access at all, either because of wiring or something going on in their particular community. And that's a big thing. I mean, you need access to technology and to the internet, and not everybody has it. So,
Libraries and education. It sounds like a good combination.
It's a winning team.
Ladies, thanks so much for being with us today. We have Ashley Chanel, and thanks for filling this in on K through 20 education, how libraries can be a part of that.
Absolutely. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
One of the presenters for this year's WVLA Spring Fling is West Virginia Library Commissioner and Huntington attorney Dennis Taylor. Commissioner Taylor, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, just tell us a little bit about your background and your professional experience.
Well, my background with libraries actually started as probably a 3 or 4-year-old when my mother took me to the public library in Charleston and got my twin sister and I a library card. And from that point onward, I've always had a library card wherever I have lived. But you know, my parents made sure that we made regular trips to the library, etc., along the way. And of course, you know, I go far afield from libraries for many, many years, even though I'm obviously always going into them to do a number of different things. But ultimately, I stumbled into the Department of Education and the Arts, and I was the Chief of Staff for Secretary Goodwin. And one of my responsibilities as Chief of Staff was to work closely with the Library Commission. And so J.D. Wagner was the secretary at that time. And basically, anytime J.D. or his predecessor David had a problem that they needed the help of the secretary or the secretary's office, J.D. would either pick up the phone or walk over and talk to me. And so anyway, I did that for a number of years before moving on down to the Higher Education Policy Commission, where I served as Vice Chancellor for Administration. And when I finished my tenure as Vice Chancellor for Administration, J.D. was aware that, of course, he had a Library Commission vacancy and asked me if I was willing to serve. And I have served on the West Virginia Library Commission, I believe, since 2009. So it's been a number of years.
Well, so are you the only attorney on the commission?
Yes, I believe so, which is unusual because most of the boards I serve on, we're overrepresented. So as a portion of the population.
So any legal questions come up, you're the go-to man.
I try to offer my opinion on any number of issues. You know, obviously public libraries are creatures of statute, and certainly I'm aware of some of those mandates. But I'm probably far more frequently asked about budget and financial questions, just because I spent so much time, you know, dealing with those types of issues when I worked for both Secretary Goodwin and at the Higher Education Policy Commission and with the legislature.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your presentation here at the Spring Fling, Libraries and the Law.
Well, one of the things I think all of us need to appreciate, you know, sometimes we think, for instance, that, you know, a particular agency has its own set of laws that it has to worry about, and that's certainly true. You know, the Library Commission does need to worry, the public libraries do need to worry about complying with provisions in Chapter 10 of the West Virginia Code concerning public libraries. But most of the issues that come up on a day-to-day basis are really just ordinary run-of-the-mill legal issues, you know, and some great examples of that What do libraries do every day? Well, they hire employees, they work with employees, they provide benefits to employees, so there's a number of employment issues. And that's the topic I'm going to address today, some of the wage and hour laws that public libraries have to comply with, as well as the Wage Payment and Collection Act, and family medical leave, and topics like that. But public libraries deal with that on a day in and day out basis. They enter into contracts with every body, from the person who repairs their roof to the vendors that they buy books from, and they are often involved in dealing with property transactions. I'm dealing with one of those right now with the Cabell County Public Library and the Village of Barbersville, which wants to have a new public library. So you have to deal with the deeds and things like that. Not glamorous, admittedly, but very practical things that librarians, have to deal with and their boards of trustees have to deal with on a day in and day out basis.
And with more than 170 public libraries in the state, you have your hands full, it sounds like.
A lot of issues certainly come up with libraries. I have started working particularly with the Cabell County Public Library since it's in my own back door on some of these issues. But libraries do keep some lawyers employed from time to time, which of course, in my profession, full employment for lawyers is we consider a good thing.
We talked a little bit about your role in the commission, but what would you say, as you kind of look at what you do and your responsibilities, what would you say your primary role would be as a member of the commission?
I think it is to support public libraries. I think anytime you serve on a commission like the Library Commission, you need to understand it can be regulatory, but more importantly, we are a group that should be supportive, should be championing public libraries, and particularly the transition that libraries are undertaking. If you stop to think about it for a second, we used to have a number of organizations, particularly schools is one that comes to mind very quickly, in the middle of our communities. More and more, we've moved the school out to some site on the hill far away from town. And if you look at what's in the community, where people are going when they're looking for jobs, when they need to research something, when they need a computer because they don't have access to their computers at home, where are they going? They are going to their public library. So you have all kinds of people coming into the library that need to be served, and our librarians are more and more becoming what I would call community ombudsmen. They are directing people to all kinds of services that are available in their communities. It really takes a level of skill and knowledge that with each passing year, I think that maybe wasn't required so many years ago, when skills like being able to catalog books, and things like that were the primary skills that librarians focused on.
Commissioner Taylor, thanks so much for being with us today, and good luck with your presentation.
Thank you very much.
The West Virginia Library Commission encourages lifelong learning, individual empowerment, civic engagement, and an enriched quality of life by enhancing library and information services for all West Virginians. For questions or comments regarding topics on this show, please do not hesitate to call us at 1-800-642-9021 or visit us online at www.librarycommission.wv.gov. To keep you updated on library happenings in the state and beyond, the West Virginia Library Commission uses the WVLC website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube channel, and the Library Lookout newsletter. If you haven't liked us or followed us on social media yet, please do.
If you missed Spring Fling this year, the West Virginia Library Association holds an even larger conference on October 5th in Daniels, West Virginia. To view any of the presentations from the 2016 Spring Fling Conference, or to find out more about the upcoming WVLA Fall Conference, please visit www.wvla.org. I'm your host, Stan Howe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Libraries Today.